Hi everyone, welcome to another fun TLN webinar. Today we're joined with Colleen McNamara and Stephanie Sucaet-Felczak from the DIA, the Detroit Institute of Arts, and we are so excited to talk more about what they have to offer you as far as library programming and what they're doing over at the DIA this year. And I'll let them take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, DJ. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Like DJ said, my name is Colleen McNamara, and I'm a community engagement manager here at the DIA, and I've worked at the museum for about 6 years now.
And I am Stephanie Sucaet-Felczak. I have been a community engagement manager for, I don't know, 3/4 of a year or something, but I have been at the museum since 2006 as a studio instructor. So I've been here a while.
So today we'll be talking about some of the upcoming exhibitions and events that we have happening at the DIA, as well as ways for community members and organizations like libraries to get more involved. We know that libraries, along with museums, are some of the most trusted institutions in our country right now and play a vital role in helping connect community members with resources and other cultural opportunities. So we're really looking forward to continuing to strengthen our relationships with libraries and with you all. So we will have some time at the end for questions, but feel free to put them in the chat throughout the presentation. I know sometimes it's hard to remember all the way at the end. And also feel free to interrupt if you'd like to ask a question in the moment. So to start, I just wanted to give you a brief introduction to the history of the Detroit Institute of Arts and what makes it such a unique institution in our area and really in the country. In the mid 1900s, Detroit was the 25th largest city in the US, and there was a strong desire for the types of cultural and social amenities that larger cities at the time had. So, in response to this, several prominent Detroiters organized the Art Loan Exhibition of 1883, which you can see on the left here, which received a lot of national attention. And the success of this exhibition ultimately resulted in the founding of the Detroit Museum of Art in 1885, which the exhibition itself included nearly 5,000 objects and lasted about 6 weeks with 135,000 people attending. And many of the works that were featured in the exhibition then became part of the permanent collection for the museum. So the Detroit Museum of Arts was located on Jefferson Avenue and opened to the public in September 1888. So you can see that building on the right there. But the collection quickly outgrew this space and we moved into our current location on Woodward Avenue. So unfortunately, this original building was eventually torn down in 1960, so it's no longer in existence. But as I mentioned, we did move into the new location on Woodward Avenue starting in 1927. But back in 1919, the Detroit Museum of Art officially changed its name to the Detroit Institute of Arts following approval of a municipal art commission. And in 1920, the city of Detroit authorized funds for a new building. So a member of the Arts Commission, the famous architect Albert Kahn, recommended the French architect Paul-Philippe Cret for the new museum's design, which you can see here was designed in the Beaux-Arts style, which is a very decorative European style. And this building opened to the public in 1927. There are a few things that really made the DIA unique, even at the time. We are still an encyclopedic museum, meaning that we have objects in our collection from across the world and throughout history, ranging from early antiquities to contemporary artwork. And on top of that, the organization of the galleries for the museum was innovative in that it organized the artwork based on culture as opposed to previously where the galleries would have been organized according to material. So you would have had like a ceramics gallery, a textile gallery. This was really a new way of thinking about presenting artwork. And it was so innovative that it actually received a write-up in the Britannica Encyclopedia. And another neat thing about that is that each gallery's aesthetic style was designed to reflect the artworks and culture within. So they don't necessarily all match up anymore. We've changed gallery spaces a fair amount since then, but you can still see the remnants of a lot of those architectural details throughout the building. And then you can see here the 1927 building looks a little bit different from how it does now. We added the modern wings that you see now in the 1960s and 70s. And those were actually originally made of black or covered in black granite. And then in 2004, they were changed to white marble to match the rest of the building. So that's just a brief overview of a long history of the museum. But additionally, one of the things that makes the DIA so unique is the collection that we have. We have about 65,000 objects in our collection. And here we have just a few kind of standout pieces that really set the DIA apart. So on the top left here is a contemporary work by Detroit artist Charles McGee, who studied at the College for Creative Studies and also taught at Eastern Michigan. This is a huge mixed media piece. If you haven't had a chance to see it, it's really cool to see it in person. There's a lot of texture in it. And this is one of our most popular stops for school field trips. And then in the top center is an image of Mushushu dragon. And this ceramic tile was actually a part of the Gates of Ishtar in ancient Babylon, created between 604 and 562 BCE. And this piece is always on view in our ancient Middle East galleries. On the top right, we have another Detroit-based artist, Mario Moore. This is a newer acquisition to the museum, and Mario has a special connection to the DIA in that his parents actually still both work at the museum and met here. So he basically grew up in the museum walls. So it's really exciting to have, we actually now have two pieces by him in our collection. This one is called The Council, and it features several of Mario's contemporaries in the art world. And it's inspired by a famous painting by a Dutch master painter that depicted a group of civic, like members of a civic guild in the Netherlands. So here he recreates that same composition, but depicting his artist friends as kind of the modern version of that civic or cultural guild. Really, putting them at the forefront as community leaders. On the bottom left, a lot of people don't know that we have a really extensive puppet collection. And here you can see we have a version of Kermit the Frog from 1969. And this was actually a gift to the museum from Jim Henson himself. But due to conservation concerns and light exposure, these puppets, if they're made of fabric, can only be on view for about 6 months, and then they'll have to go into storage for about 3 years. So I don't know when Kermit will be making a return, but we would tend to post on social media every time he comes back on view. So next to Kermit, we have the Wedding Dance, which is another masterpiece in our collection. It was painted in 1566 by Peter Bruegel the Elder. And the DIA is actually one of only 2 museums in the US to own a painting by this artist, who's considered one of the most important Dutch artists. And then another very famous Dutch artist you can see is Van Gogh. Here we have his self-portrait. And this is one of our claims to fame, because the DIA, if you came to the Van Gogh exhibit a few years ago, I'm sure you've heard this before, but the DIA was the first museum to purchase, the first museum in North America to purchase a Van Gogh, which was in 1922, and it was this self-portrait. So we recently celebrated the 100-year anniversary of that with the Van Gogh exhibition. And then on the bottom right is another newer acquisition to our Native American galleries called Create Our Future, Honor Our Past, which is made by Kathleen Wall, but it's actually a collaboration between multiple artists. And there are 4 figurines. So this is just one that is called Sweetgrass and represents the Eastern Woodlands people, but each figurine represents a different Native American culture and tradition from across the US. And like I said, multiple artists work on it. So I believe on this one, the local Michigan artist Kelly Church wove that miniature basket that the figurine is holding in her hand. So it's really incredible to see in person. So as I mentioned, these are just a few highlights of works from our collection that make the DIA special. But we couldn't do all of this and maintain the incredible collection that we have without the support of the residents of Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb County. So we do always like to just take a moment to say thank you again for that support. I know not everyone here is necessarily from the Tri-County area, but I just wanted to mention the Tri-County Millage, which funds a lot of the work that we do here at the museum. So in August of 2012, Tri-County voters approved a millage to fund the DIA, and we entered into service agreements with each county's Art Institute Authority to provide benefits to Macomb, Oakland, and Wayne County residents. And then the millage was renewed again in 2020 to ensure that we could continue to maintain the same level of services and benefits. So just to kind of give you an overview of what all that involves, with the passing of the millage, we worked with the county art authorities to establish this framework of resources that are available to Tri-County residents to make sure that people can really take full advantage of everything that the DIA has to offer. So you can see here, we kind of break it into 4 categories, which is free general admission, school programs, senior programs, and community partnerships. So our work in the community engagement department is to help connect local communities with these resources. There are a couple programs we manage ourselves, such as Inside Out and the Partners in Public Art mural program. But otherwise, we work really closely with departments across the museum, like the education department, public programming, and the art making studio to support their work and help make sure that people have access to those programs. So we'll dive into all of this in more detail over the next few slides, but I think this is just kind of a helpful overview. So the first one is pretty straightforward, but we do offer free general admission to Tri-County residents, and we like to remind people that that is unlimited general admission, so you can come as many times as you'd like throughout the year. We also have a lot of great programming every weekend, a lot of which is free or included with your general admission. So you can see we have got drop-in art making activities, lots of other events that we'll talk about later on. Most of our special exhibitions are included with general admission. Everything we have open right now is included with that, but we do have some select exhibitions that are ticketed. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. I did want to mention too that residents outside of the Tri-County can take advantage of the Michigan Activities Pass, which I know the Library Network helps support. And I believe that the offer through that pass is for like a buy one, get one free for discounted admissions. So I think with that, I'll go ahead and pass it off to Stephanie to talk about some of our other programs.
All right, so the next kind of section of the way we partner with our communities is our school program. We offer free K through 12 field trips. We brought in over 60,000 kids to the museum last year with these field trips, and they also include bus transportation. We also offer on-site professional development for teachers. And we have an extensive education team who create resources that connect directly to the K-12 curriculum in Michigan. We also have an in-school program. It was recently a pilot, so I think we're getting off of the pilot phase and into the next year and hoping to expand. It combines an art education kind of critical thinking skills portion of the teacher's time there, and then they do an art making activity that's related to artwork that they look at that we actually have here at the museum. Next slide. Okay, we then have our senior programs. So there's a few different things that are part of our senior programs. We have Melodies at the Museum. So this occurs once a month on the third Thursday. You would attend a free musical performance in the theater with time to explore the museum afterwards. If you come with a group, you could receive a coupon to the museum shop, and then you would also receive light refreshments to enjoy on the way home. Groups can also come on a weekday to have a guided tour with a DIA docent or participate in an art making activity or explore the museum on their own, just as like a self-guided time here. And just as with the school trips, we provide free transportation for groups of 25 people or more. We also have something called behind the scene art talks out in the community. They are in-depth talks led by DIA docents on a variety of topics that relate to the DIA selection. These are great options for libraries. As long as you have a room with a projector or a large screen, the docents can come there and provide this talk to your group. There are 20 different topics to choose from. You can find all those on our website. Just a few examples are women artists as a topic, museum mysteries, highlights from the DIA collection, etc. We have a lot more. Okay, next slide. All right, the community partnership programs. You may be familiar with some of these. For starters, we'll talk about Inside Out. Communities can apply for Inside Out every 3 years or more to receive reproductions of artworks from the DIA collection. These would be up every year, well, the year that you're chosen, your community is chosen, from late May through October. And there's 2 pictures of that. One is at the bottom right, and then if you hop 2 to the left, there's another one there by the water. So that's Inside Out. We also have a mural program called Partners in Public Art. We call it Pippa for short, our cute little nickname. So if I refer to it as that, that's what it is. So that is the program where each Tri-County community is eligible to receive one. On the top left there, that is Dearborn's mural, recently painted in 2025 by Ivan Montoya. So I think we try to do 8 per year is our goal. So we do 2 per county every calendar year. On the bottom left there is a picture of that's kind of our drop-in fairs and festivals. So you would kind of see us out in the community at various community art festivals, and our studio team brings lots of, I don't know, art materials, different projects every weekend. And so that has been a huge presence. Our community group studio program, those are free art making classes for local social service agencies. It always culminates in an annual exhibition in our learning center, which is right outside of our studio classrooms. The top right is an old class that I taught that is with CARE of Southeast Michigan. They're based in Fraser. And they came many years ago when I was an instructor there. They still come to this day. So that is a nice partnership. Okay, next slide. Okay. I mentioned the community group trips too, with the free bus transportation for groups of 25 or more in the Tri-County area. Um, One of the ways that we partner with them is through these group trips, free transportation, 25 people or more, like I mentioned, and they can be booked on weekday afternoons, or we usually have one weekend a month where we can offer weekend trips. In the pictures there, the left side is the Chaldean Community Foundation group visit. And then on the right side, that's the Oak Park Library group visit. The trip can include a self-guided visit or a tour of the permanent collection, a special exhibition, or an art making activity if the studio is available. We can tailor the experience to your group and their interests. Just to note, there may be some of you who are not from the Tri-County libraries. Groups outside of the Tri-County area can book group tours at the museum with a minimum of 15 people with discounted admission fees. There's also a daily highlights tour that occurs at 1 p.m. that anybody can join at any time. Okay, maybe I'll mention just the admission since there are some of you who are not from the Tri-County area where it wouldn't be free. The price is $20 for adults, $10 for seniors or college students, $8 for youth, and free for ages 5 and under. And if you do have a group with 15 or more, admission goes down to $10 per person. Okay, thanks, Colleen. Sorry. Okay, so we're gonna just do something, a little activity together. If you would like to participate, we can enter stuff into the chat or you guys can come off of mute. We're gonna do something called visual thinking strategies. It's a way of looking at and engaging with art. We use it on our school field trips. We use it during teacher professional development in hopes that the teachers take this strategy, if you will, back to their classroom. We use this for community groups and other studio classes. So what we're going to do is just have an open-ended discussion. There's no wrong answers. And we're just going to look at the next slide, which is a very large artwork that we have in the collection. So like I said, you can enter stuff into the chat or just answer my questions as I ask them. So let's just look at this for a few seconds. Who would like to tell me what is going on here? Don't be shy. Colleen, you might have to participate too.
I was gonna mention this is
Yeah,
actually one
DJ.
of my favorite pieces in the DIA. Um,
So
uh,
you've seen it in person, DJ?
I have.
Okay,
It's
great.
absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing in the chat it looks like
Yeah.
salamanders or lizards slithering over each other.
Okay, thank you, Kayla. All right, so you're mentioning kind of these maybe reptiles and amphibians, salamanders, lizards slithering over each other. I'm seeing another one, bugs and intestines, maybe speaking to digestion. That's from Amy. So, Amy, what do you see that makes you say intestines or
It's
bug?
mostly just like the shapes that I'm seeing. Um,
Okay.
it just reminds me of that.
So, like the shapes that are inside the animal shapes,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
looks like there's kind of maybe some organs or
right.
intestines, different
Mhm.
anatomical
Yeah.
shapes. Okay, great. Thank you. What more can we find? Usually I'd be standing in front of the artwork, waving my hand in front of areas I want you to look, just to kind of get you to look around the whole thing. What do you notice? Does anybody notice the background? Land and water. Thanks, Ace. Ace said land and water. So um, I think a type of creation story or evolution from Josh. Okay. Thank you. What do you see that makes you say that, Josh? If you don't mind
I think
typing.
it, like you're saying, kind of the mix of the land and the water, the animals, um, moving from the land or from the water to land, vice versa, just kind of the mixture of, it's hard to say like where one animal begins and another ends. They're just kind of all one and the same, kind of sprouting from each other.
Okay, for sure. So yeah, you can't really tell where one begins and one ends, and there's kind of this line that connects everything, and there's the water side and the land side, and it's hard to, really tell, what came first or from where. Okay, so Stephanie, a combination of different animals. There's a tail with legs. Fun fact. Oh, I love fun facts. Dolphins used to have legs and walk on land. That is a fun fact. Oh my gosh, I had no idea. All right, cool. All right. Well, great job. I don't want to, sometimes we can spend, 15 or 20 minutes on one piece, especially with younger kids in schools, and they just feed off of each other and they get really excited, and we go pretty deep into some artwork, but this was kind of just a snapshot of that for you guys, and thank you for participating. So go ahead, Colleen, you can click and then we can see that this is titled Cycles. This was painted in 1985 by Norval Morrisseau. He is from the First Nation Bingwe and Neasha Anishinaabeg. It is a large piece, DJ, you would know, right? 54 by 88 plus inches. So yeah, definitely with the title Cycles gives you another insight into what the artist intended. So this is on view in our Native American galleries as part of our permanent collection. There are also two works by this artist in an exhibition that we have going on now, which Colleen will touch on further. It's our Contemporary Anishinaabe exhibition. All right, next slide. And I think that's on to you, Colleen, right?
Yes, sorry, I was trying to unmute myself, but I was already unmuted. All right, so we did want to talk just a little bit about some of the upcoming exhibitions that might be of interest to you or residents who come to your library. So the first two are community exhibitions that our department actually manages, because these ones we work directly with the community, and it's an opportunity for people in the area to have their artwork on view at the DIA, which is a really cool opportunity. So the first one is the 5th annual Wayne County High School Art Exhibition, which will open on June 18th and be up for about a month. And this community exhibition will be on view in the education wing of the museum, which, if you've been here before, is over by the art making studio. So this is one that we host every year, and it's open to all Wayne County high school students. So that includes public, private, as well as homeschool students. And the artwork that could be submitted includes photography, painting, textiles, sculpture, jewelry, ceramics, digital art, and more. So it can really be any medium. Typically, the submissions for this go from January through March. So we did just close the submissions for this year, but we wanted to mention it. If any of you are from Wayne County libraries, this is a great opportunity if you have artists, young artists in your community who you think would be interested in participating. And then this particular exhibition is a collaboration with like the Wayne County executive offices. So a selection of the works after being on view at the DIA will then go on to be displayed at the Guardian building downtown, which is really neat. Another community exhibition that we do, which is honestly one of our most popular exhibitions every year, especially with school groups, is our Ofrendas, which is in celebration of El Dia de Muertos, or Day of the Dead. And for this exhibition, we partner with the Detroit Mexican Consulate, the Southwest Detroit Business Association, and Mexican Town CDC. And this is open to any artist to be able to submit their proposal for an ofrenda installation that will then be on display in the museum. This year was a little bit different due to some renovations we have going on at the museum. So typically these in the past have all been in one gallery, but this year we actually had them spread out in different galleries throughout the museum, which I think was just a really interesting way to, kind of see them in combination with other artworks in the museum. And this was our 13th year of hosting the exhibition. So submissions for that will be opening soon. There will be a link up on our website. I believe the Ofrenda's exhibition page is already on the website. It just doesn't have the application on there yet, but definitely keep an eye out for that. And then an exhibition that we've mentioned a couple times already, and unfortunately is just on view for a couple more weeks, but we did want to mention it in case you haven't had an opportunity to come down and see it. I would highly recommend trying to squeeze it in before it closes on April 5th. But this is our contemporary Anishinaabe art, a continuation, which features about 60 Anishinaabe artists from the Great Lakes region, mostly US based, but a few from Canada as well. And this is the first major Native American exhibition that the DIA has hosted in about 30 years. So it was long overdue, but it was really a collaboration with the community as well. We worked with an advisory committee of Anishinaabe artists who helped consult both on the artworks that were in the show, as well as a lot of the programming that we've done along with the exhibition. It features about 100 works, so it's quite a big exhibition. And those works range from basketry, beadwork, birch bark artistry, clothing, film, graphic design, and more. And, talking and hearing from the artists who participated in this exhibition, they talked a lot about how they wanted to kind of upend certain stereotypes about what Native American art is and show the full breadth and diversity of contemporary Native American art that's being created today. So again, if you haven't had a chance to see it, it's really incredible. You can see in the photo here, this is just one of 2 full-sized canoes on view in the exhibition. And the whole space is just really beautifully designed. We also worked with an Anishinaabe graphic designer named Eva Oldman, who designed a lot of the graphics in the exhibition. This exhibition is included with general admission, so if you're in Tri-County, it would be free. And then for this exhibition, we do also offer free admission to anyone with a tribal issued ID. So that could be from anywhere in the US or Canada. Another temporary exhibition that we have on view right now is called Highlights from the Modern Collection. And this is up temporarily while we are going through some of those renovations that I mentioned. So we are renovating our modern and contemporary galleries, which hasn't been done in many years. So while those galleries are off view, we wanted to make sure that we had a selection of modern works on view. So these are located in the galleries right off of Rivera Court, and they include both European and American artworks from the mid-1800s through the 1960s. And you can see here, they are arranged a little bit differently from how we typically present art nowadays. We tend to, give each artwork a lot of space on the wall, but due to the amount of work we have and the limitation of the space, here we've gone for what's called a salon style hanging, which is actually how artworks from this time period would have been presented back when they first were painted. So they're often, stacked one on top of each other and a little bit more tightly fitted together, but I think it does give an opportunity to really think about the artworks in relationship to each other. So in these galleries, you'll see some of the old favorites like Van Gogh, Seurat, Picasso, Mary Cassatt. But this gallery you can see in the slide here is featuring some works from our Surrealist collection. And I did want to mention the two pieces on the very right are newer acquisitions from the artist Alice Rahone, who was a contemporary and friend of Frida Kahlo. She was from France, but actually moved to Mexico and became a Mexican citizen. And the piece on the bottom right is actually titled Painting for a Little Ghost Who Couldn't Learn to Read. And I couldn't find a lot of other information about what that title means, but I just find it really haunting and the piece is really beautiful. So definitely recommend coming and checking that out. And then the piece right above it is by the same artist, and that is actually a brass marionette that she created as part of what she called a cosmic ballet that she wrote. So just a couple fun highlights from that exhibition, and this will be on view through the end of this summer, and then the new modern and contemporary galleries are set to reopen in late fall of 2026. So the first phase of these new gallery installations has already opened, which is the new African American art galleries, which have moved into the galleries right off of Rivera Court, where we used to have the Impressionist paintings. And this was in response to feedback we had gotten from visitors about the African American art galleries being kind of tucked away and wanting something that was more accessible. And it also connects better to the American galleries, which allows us to tell this story as part of the larger history of American history. So these galleries include works from African American artists from the 1850s through the 1970s and connect to various historical movements, including the Harlem Renaissance, the Civil Rights era, and more. And one thing I like to tell folks that a lot of people don't know is that the DIA was one of the first American museums to found a curatorial department devoted to collecting African American art. So under the direction of our head curator of African American art, Valerie Mercer, who led this reinstallation. And as a result, we have a really comprehensive collection that allows us to tell this story through the lens of African American art. And the photo you see here is one of the later galleries chronologically. So it features works by Black artists who were working in the abstract expressionist movements in the 1960s and 70s. So on the left, you have a piece by Hale Woodruff, which I think I noticed Stephanie also has a piece by Hale Woodruff in her background. The center piece is by Sam Gilliam, and then on the right is a piece by Ed Clark. So again, if you haven't had a chance to see these newly reinstalled galleries, they're really beautiful, and I think, yeah, there's so much more I could say, but I want to make sure we have time to get to everything. So one last exhibition that I wanted to mention, which this one is the exception in that it will be a ticketed exhibition, but I do believe we typically have discounted exhibition tickets for Tri-County residents as well. But this is an exhibition where, this is an exhibition we are really excited about called Georgia O'Keeffe Architecture. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with Georgia O'Keeffe, but maybe more acquainted with different subject matters. She is known for having painted a lot of flowers as well as skulls. So this is maybe a lesser known area of her work, but she did do a lot of these paintings of buildings in various different settings. So it will include approximately 35 paintings from the 1920s through the 1960s. Some of them will feature rural barns like this one you see here, and this is actually a piece that's in the DIA collection. And then she also has a series of Manhattan skyscrapers from when she lived in New York City. And then finally, kind of the latest or the ones from later in her life depict the adobe homes and other structures around where she lived in New Mexico. And with these architectural paintings, she often would paint them over and over with very tightly cropped compositions, similar to what she would do with the flowers, but it almost creates this sense of abstraction because they're so tightly cropped on the, and she tends to kind of reduce everything to these very simple shapes and forms. One thing that I think is fun to mention is that she really, Georgia O'Keeffe really chafed against a lot of the societal expectations around women artists, and she felt like she was kind of boxed into only painting flowers or other, softer compositions. But she was quoted as saying, I can paint one of those dismal colored paintings just like the men, so these architectural paintings are, in some ways kind of a rejection of what people had known her for in the past. And then lastly, we have so much great programming every weekend, every month at the DIA, but we did just want to highlight a few upcoming ones. And I know also we've been working with DJ to distribute our quarterly programming calendars that have all of our programs for the upcoming months. So hopefully you've been getting those. If not, or if you want more, just let us know. We're always happy to provide those. But I did just want to highlight some upcoming programs we have planned in May for Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And also, I'll just say in general, a lot of the programs that you see listed here are programs that we do every weekend, but in May, we have them more specifically tailored to AAPI month. But every weekend we have drawing in the galleries, drop-in art making workshops in the studio. We often also have Friday Night Live, which are free musical performances in Rivera Court. And the museum is open late until 9 p.m. on Fridays, which is a great time to come when there's a lot of different activities going on. And like we mentioned, most of these programs are included with free general admission for Tri-County residents. So I don't necessarily need to read all of these to you, but just wanted to highlight some of these cool upcoming programs we have. I know in particular, for these programs, we work closely with the Friends of Asian Arts and Cultures, which is a volunteer organization at the museum. And they've been really involved with the cultural display and demonstrations, as well as the performances. So those will be really incredible performances with artists from all different cultures. So I think those will be really incredible opportunities to check out. And then lastly, I wanted to highlight a couple new programs that we've developed in the last year to help make the DIA more accessible to everyone. So we have an accessibility specialist who has developed sensory-friendly Saturdays, which take place every other month. And this program offers a welcoming, inclusive art making experience for neurodivergent children, teens, adults, and their family and friends. So the upcoming dates for those are listed there. For those, we do require registration on our website ahead of time. And then Stephanie had mentioned every day that we're open, we have a free public tour that leaves from the Great Hall at 1 p.m. that just kind of it's the highlights from the DIA collection. And so once a quarter, we will be hosting a version of that with American Sign Language interpretation. So the upcoming dates for that are listed there as well. And in addition to the quarterly calendars that I mentioned, we do have specific flyers for both these sensory-friendly ASL tours and AAPI month. So if you would be interested in receiving any of those to put up at your libraries, just let us know. And I think that's it for us. So we want to open it up to you all for any questions that you might have. And we have our contact information here too. if you want to get in touch with either of
Yeah.
us directly.
Stephanie just asked who to reach out to, so that's our information up there, Stephanie. So either one of us.
So big thank you to Colleen and Stephanie for presenting on this. But go ahead, if you have questions, you can either drop them in the chat. I'm happy to read them, or if you want to come off mute and just ask, feel free. But this is your time if you want to get any questions in. So Josh is asking in the chat, how do you calculate admissions for a college group if they have mixed residency statuses?
That
Great.
is a good question. And I believe, I mean, is this a college that's located in the Tri-County?
Yes. Hi. We're in
From
Livonia.
Madonna.
Okay.
It's Madonna.
Yeah. So I think typically, if it's organized through an organization that's in the Tri-County, we work a lot with community colleges, and obviously
Hmm.
not everyone, lives on campus, or sometimes they don't have on-campus housing. So I believe that they would just go by where the community college or university
Okay.
is located.
Okay. That's great. Thank you.
And then Andy just dropped in the chat that they'll be visiting the DIA on Friday for the first time in a few years. So hopefully you're going to have a great time.
Awesome. Yeah, we just this past weekend had a group from Westland Library that came. They did like a self-guided tour, so they were just able to explore on their own and take advantage of like the art making activities. And then we also had a group from Oxford Library who did a guided tour with a docent. So just two examples of, how you can take advantage of these opportunities. Stop sharing just so I can see everybody's
Yeah.
faces better. Okay.
I'm seeing a lot of thank yous in the chat.
Hi. I had a quick question if I could.
Sure.
So I know that you mentioned that there are opportunities for free transportations for groups 25 or more. We're a pretty small library, and sometimes we collaborate with like our local senior center to do activities to get like enough interest. And I know that the senior programs have their own kind of set of activities. In the instance where we might have like a mixed group in that regard, like we might have some library patrons and then senior center patrons attending. Is there a particular way we go about like determining? I guess my specific questions, like for some of those like melodies at the museum, are those things that would be exclusive to senior programs, or would there be a potential to offer that even if the group ends up being like a combination of two groups?
Yeah, that's a good question. So Melodies at the Museum is specifically a senior program, so it is specifically for 55 and up, although people bring their family with them and that's fine. But I would say as far as like collaborating on a trip, that would probably be better for like either a guided tour or a self-guided visit. But we definitely, with libraries in particular, it's often groups, from with all ages. And so we can, tailor the visit depending on, like we always let the docents know the age groups coming, or you could even, depending on how many people you have sign up, you could have like one group, I would say for the docents, we typically limit it to about 15 people per group. So if you had 30 people, we would split you into two groups, and we could, have one docent that maybe is geared more towards an adult audience and one that's geared more towards families with kids. Does that help, Kayla?
Yeah, that's super helpful. Thank you.
Okay, great. And then one thing too, I wanted to mention behind the scene, we have that listed on the senior program, but that really is open to anyone. We just tend to include it there because it is more geared towards adult audiences.
I understand.
I'm seeing in the chat too from Chris. Can you talk a little bit more about the paperwork required for arranging groups that include children?
I don't know if Stephanie, if you have any more insight into that from booking stuff in the studio.
Yeah, I guess it depends. You're saying a group visit that includes children, and it depends if you're looking for like a studio experience. Um, I mean, I think going on the website and searching, if you want to do something that includes art making or not, but I would say like a group visit, if you just want to do a self guide and they just are included in your 25, I think that's just a regular, um, you know, community. Is that what it is, Colleen? Is it like the form that they would fill out on the website that just to book a group visit?
I don't know, maybe Chris, you could clarify. Um, but I was also just going to mention that, if you have specific questions about that, we could put you in touch with our group reservations departments because they handle all of the school group booking as well as any other group tours. So they would be able to provide like I'm not sure if you were asking about like liability with bringing kids groups, but
Yeah,
they
yeah, basically I'm just trying to figure out information. Um, the manager of the librarian I work at here in Detroit does work with the Detroit Phoenix Center. So
Mhm.
they're like homeless and housing insecure teens, and they try to do activities and things with them. So I wanted to tell her about the group visits and things like that. I was just curious what might be involved in something like that. So that's probably a thing to poke you guys about offline then.
Yeah, if you want to reach out to Stephanie and I, we can put you in touch with our group reservations department that can probably answer more of those questions. But I would say like for it's a little bit easier for schools because we have, established relationships and the teachers are really taking accountability for the student groups that they bring. Um,
Right.
so it might be a little bit different for other community groups, but we could definitely find out more for you.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
I'm seeing a question in the chat. Roughly how long are the behind the scenes talks?
I believe they're probably similar to this, where the presentation would last about 45 minutes and then like 15 minutes for questions and answers. Um, and maybe, you know, maybe DJ, we could follow up and we have a flyer that has links to the specific pages on our website to find
Yeah,
applications for all these different programs. So maybe we could send that out to everyone because I know sometimes if you just go to our website, it can be hard to find all of the specific
True.
yeah,
pages.
I can do that. Yeah,
Oh,
Oh,
Amy found
Amy's
one.
on it. Thank, thank you, Amy, for linking that. But yeah, we'll follow up and send you a flyer with links. And then also, it also has phone numbers for group reservations because sometimes it's easier just to have a conversation.
perfect. Well, I know we're running low on time. I want to make sure that there aren't any last minute questions before we wrap this up. No? All right. Thank you again to Stephanie and Colleen. I know everyone's now super excited about everything being offered at the DIA, and we look forward to seeing you all in the future. All right.
Yes, thank you
Take
Great.
again
care.
so much for hosting, and thanks, DJ, for putting this together.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you all.
I hope to see you all soon at the museum.
Bye.
See ya.